Okay, so you've pointed us towards a really uh, fundamental piece of recovery today. We're going deep into step 2 of Narcotics Anonymous.
That's right. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. It's quite a statement.
It really is. And for you, our listener, someone who really wants to get under the skin of this, our plan is to unpack it. We're using the NA Basic Text, the 6th edition.
It works. How and why. And the NA step working guides, too.
Exactly. The goal here is to give you those, those aha moments so you don't just understand the words, but you feel ready to actually think about applying these ideas.
Yeah, we want to make it thorough, but also digestible. We're pulling insights straight from these core texts, aiming for clarity, helping you connect the dots for step 2.
Okay, so step 2, it doesn't just pop up randomly, right? It follows directly from step 1.
Absolutely. Step 1 is that admission, isn't
Yeah.
it? Powerlessness, unmanageability. It can feel pretty bleak, frankly.
It can be a really dark place. So what's the shift here? How does step 2 start to change that picture?
Well, step 2, fundamentally, it's about hope. It's the answer to that desperate feeling from
Mhm.
step 1, that question of, is there any way out of this mess?
Ah,
Step 2 says, yes, there is, but, and this is key, it points towards help coming from somewhere beyond our own willpower, our own thinking.
something greater. And that word sanity pops up again. What does NA mean by insanity in this context? Because it's specific.
It is. The step working guides in the step 2 summary, they put it really simply. Insanity is repeating mistakes, expecting different results.
Right, doing the same destructive things over and over, hoping for a miracle that never comes.
Exactly, that loop, that hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Step 2 is presented as the way off that wheel.
Okay, so we need help, we need sanity. But this idea, this power greater than ourselves, that can be a real sticking point for people, can it? Especially coming from self-reliance or maybe cynicism.
Oh, absolutely. It can feel like a huge hurdle, but
Yeah.
often it doesn't start with like full-blown bells and whistles belief. It starts smaller, with willingness.
Yeah.
Just the willingness to consider the possibility. Could there be something out there, a force, a principle, maybe even the group itself that could help?
Right, just cracking the door open a bit.
Exactly. And the basic text is really emphatic about this being personal. It says, our concept, not someone else's. It could be nature, love,
Yeah.
collective wisdom.
That not someone else's part feels crucial. It removes that pressure of having to buy into a specific religious framework.
Totally. It works. How and why backs this up. It talks about any power greater than self, found within or without, as each defines.
Within or without. Interesting.
Yeah. And the step working guides, they offer really practical starting points, like maybe it's the NA group, the community, or just some kind of loving force you sense.
So it's really flexible.
It really is. It's always God as we understood him. That phrase is everywhere. Or as the It Works glossary puts it, your chosen image or idea of a higher power. It's about finding what works for you.
Okay, so you find your own understanding. Maybe it's the group, maybe it's nature, maybe something else entirely. But why is this connection, this belief in something greater, so vital for getting back to sanity?
Well, think back to step 1 again. If our best thinking, our own self-will, got us into the mess of addiction.
Then using that same thinking to get out probably won't work.
Exactly. It's logical, right? So a power greater than ourselves offers a different perspective. It opens up access to maybe wisdom or strength that we just don't possess on our own. It's about tapping into something else.
The step-working guides have that really sharp question about this, don't they?
They do, that reflection prompt. What happens when I run the show? It forces you to look honestly at the results of relying only on yourself.
And for most people in recovery, the answer isn't pretty. Chaos, pain.
Right? Seeing that pattern clearly can really create an openness, a need to look for another way.
And it's interesting, the basic text actually includes a story where the program itself, the NA meetings and people, acted as that initial higher power for someone.
That's such a great illustration. This person describes feeling relief, direction, just from the support and care in the rooms. Something they couldn't find alone. It kept them clean.
So the fellowship itself can be the first proof.
For many, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tangible evidence that something beyond their own isolated struggle is working.
So step 2 isn't just theory, it's tied directly to that feeling of hope, the possibility of real change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It directly counters the hopelessness of active addiction. It says recovery is possible. Sanity is possible. A different future can happen.
And a big part of accessing that hope seems to be open-mindedness.
Definitely. Open-mindedness is underlined as a key spiritual principle here. Literature like the Hope Through a Greater Power pamphlet talks about it. It means being willing to, consider ideas that might feel foreign or uncomfortable at first.
Like spiritual solutions.
Exactly. Or just the basic idea that help can come from outside yourself, even if you don't fully get it yet. Being receptive.
And listening to other people seems important here too.
Oh, hugely important. Hearing others share their understanding of a higher power, how they came to believe, how it works in their lives. That's practical open-mindedness in action for step 2. It shows you possibilities.
And presumably from that openness, something like faith or trust might start to emerge.
That's often the path. Faith often grows out of that initial seed of hope, as the pamphlet suggests. You stick around, you see recovery happening, maybe small changes in yourself first.
Less chaos, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a bit more emotional balance, maybe relationships start to heal a little. And as you see these positive shifts, that belief in some kind of guiding power, something trustworthy, can deepen. Faith and trust start to develop.
And the step working guides prompt reflection on that too.
Yep, with that simple question, what does trust look like? Makes you think, how does trust actually show up in life? What does it feel like? What actions express it?
So, okay, let's say someone is really trying to engage with step 2. What are some concrete actions they can take, things they can do?
The step working guides give some next steps. One is interesting because it points towards step 3, but it's powerful for step 2. Say the third step prayer daily.
Even before getting to step 3.
Yeah, because the act of turning outward, asking for guidance, even if you're not sure who or what you're asking, is itself an exercise in willingness and building belief. It's an action of reaching beyond self.
That makes sense, like practicing the posture of asking for help. What else?
Another suggestion is to identify one area to surrender. Pick something small, maybe. This ties into that other question. What am I still trying to control?
Ah, right.
So consciously deciding, okay, in this one area, I'm going to try not to force my will. I'm going to try to trust. That builds the muscle. And like we said, actively listening in meetings, that's a key action.
You should probably also acknowledge, though, that believing in something unseen, it's tough for a lot of people. Resistance is normal, right?
Oh, totally normal. Skepticism, doubt, feeling awkward about it, that's all part of the process for many. But the wording is key. Came to believe.
Not instantly believed.
Exactly. It implies a process, a journey. It unfolds over time. Sometimes it's gradual, subtle shifts in awareness, not necessarily a lightning bolt moment.
So the whole point, the goal of step 2, is really starting that shift away from the destructive, repetitive thinking of addiction.
Yes. Moving towards a more balanced, rational state. That's the restoration to sanity part.
Opening up to a different way of thinking, a different way of living, possibly guided by this power we're coming to believe in.
Precisely. And that openness, that willingness to believe that restoration is possible through this power, is what paves the way for the decision we make in step 3.
Okay, so wrapping up step 2. The big picture is moving from step 1's despair into hope. It's about becoming open to the idea, just the idea of a power greater than yourself.
And starting that journey towards restored sanity, whatever that looks like for you personally.
And crucially, your understanding of that power is yours alone. It can grow, it can change. There's no single right answer.
Absolutely. What matters is finding something that resonates, something that offers strength and guidance beyond your own limitations.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about your own life, your own struggles and hopes, what might a power greater than yourself look like, even just a possibility? And what tiny step of willingness, maybe just listening differently or considering a new idea, could you take today to explore that?
Thanks for joining us as we explored step 2. We really hope this deep dive helps clarify this vital step on the path to recovery.